joining us today. We are just full of live broadcasts today because there's so many great things that's happening within our community. And we are here today at the Innovation Center at Bayview Yards. And with me, next to me, the man in charge of helping startups succeed, Nick Quain. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so fortunate that you made some time for us. I know you had to step away literally from a panel discussion outside to come and be here. So for everybody that's looking to where Nick is, he is with us and he's here
I'll be back soon.
and he's here for a reason. So Nick, let's jump into this straight from the start. I mean, you are now taking the role as Vice President of Venture Development. I guess we should ask, what does a Vice President of Venture Development do?
Well, it's only like my second or third day, so I'm still figuring it out, right? It's still sort of... No, so, my responsibilities are really on two sides. I mean, overall, it's the strategic direction for how we support entrepreneurs and early stage businesses. And probably break it into two sides. One is more your traditional side of business, your Main Street businesses, right? So we have our whole small business education center here at Invest Ottawa. So anyone who's looking to open up their first business, Main Street could be a service company, could be opening a restaurant, could be whatever they are doing. We support that kind of traditional Main Street business through business advisors. So those early stage entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs would come in and be able to get a meeting with one of our business advisors. And then through that program, we also run some small funding programs like for summer company and starter companies, some of these early stage companies where we can give a little bit of funding and a lot of advice and mentorship to help first-time entrepreneurs start. And then we also run a ton of workshops and seminars out of here. So everything from how do you incorporate to how do I export to how do you run a restaurant, right? Some very specialized. So that's one side on the traditional side. And then we also run the Innovation Center, and that's where we are here at our incubator, where we have over 35, 40 companies in this space that are high potential growth companies in the technology sector. And we support those in some similar ways, but also some different ways in terms of helping those companies. I mean, it's so difficult for these technology companies to make it in this day and age. You're competing not only against tech companies locally, but globally now. So they need a lot of support, and there's a lot of potential with these companies. So we run all sorts of programming here to help those companies or those entrepreneurs be able to make it, at least some of them. And so those are really the two different areas that I support strategically, and that covers everything from how we engage them to how we support them and the resources that we apply to help those companies.
Well, for the second day on the job, that's a pretty extensive and very detailed explanation. And I think that's what is so great about you, and I can understand why Invest Ottawa is excited to have you part of the team here. I mean, you're a seasoned entrepreneur and CEO, and in fact, that's probably the other question that I want to ask of you is, you're a CEO, and you were a CEO, and now you're in this position, so you kind of stepped away from that. What made you decide, like, this is the right time for me to step away from being a CEO and playing more the mentor in chief, the chief and mentor, however you want to put that, as that role, taking over that aspect now?
Yeah, so I mean, for over 5 years, I've started advising earlier stage companies more and more, right? And both in an informal way and formally on advisory boards. And it's one of those realizations that I got as I would meet with entrepreneurs and early stage companies of how much fun I was having engaging with them, right? I mean, it's fun to take all of those scars that I have and all those lessons learned and be able to see someone walking into the same trap that I walked into and be able to give some advice, and they're able to step over it or step around it. And that was sort of eye-opening for me over the last 5 years of how much I was enjoying that. So I knew that whatever I did next in my next chapter was going to have some type of involvement with advising early stage companies. And, the timing was right for me. My company's in a very, CellWand, the company that I was engaged with, is in a good spot. It's got cash and it's profitable, but it's also at a point where, as a board, we had refocused it strategically to focus on its core business. And they didn't need me necessarily to do that anymore. And I knew going back and forth between Ottawa and Toronto that wasn't something with a young family I wanted to do anymore. I knew, Ottawa was my home. This is where I wanted to come back to. So this was kind of the perfect combination where I can, refocus on a new sort of chapter in my life, and one that I know that I've had a lot of fun with informally, and I can throw myself into something new.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say the energy is contagious. I can feel that you're excited, you're pumped. And I think what's wonderful about, I feel just over the last year and a bit as Invest Ottawa's opened up here, the Innovation Center as well, there's been a lot of hustle and bustle, and I think 2017 was great, but I think 2018 is going to be not just very focused, but also I think there's going to be a lot of deliverables that we can definitely count on. And maybe I should ask you though, as you're dealing with these startups, and this is tough. This is a tough question because these startups have there's so many needs, there's so many things that we can always get better at, and trying to advise and support startups. But for you, what do you feel, if you can just pin it down to maybe one or two things, what do you think the startup community really needs to help them just move forward faster and more effectively?
Yeah, just one or two things will fix everything, right? That's it. If it were only so easy. Yeah, so I think the lower hanging fruit of the things that we can do better here, I think two things. One would be we need to shift the way we support entrepreneurs in the high tech, high growth potential companies, to provide more resources, more support, more mentorship, more advice to entrepreneurs at the very earliest of stages. At the ideation stage even, right? So what's typically happened is if someone, a budding entrepreneur has an idea, they haven't built anything, it's just really an idea, right? They would come in and they might get 1 hour with one of our tech advisors, and then in general be kind of told, go build something, go get some traction, go sell something, get some validation before we're going to take you under our wing and really support it. And that makes sense at that stage to, because you're trying to figure out who's serious and who's not, so that makes sense in some ways. But there's an opportunity for entrepreneurs at that stage to get a lot more support to build the foundation of their business properly before they build something, before they go out and try and sell something. They might think they have the problem figured out and they're onto something, but they haven't quite got it figured out, and they need more mentorship and support and resources behind them to help build that company right. So I think that will be one of the shifts that we're going to do here. We're going to start working with cohorts of really early stage entrepreneurs who are just getting started. So I think that's the first one. The second one, I think, is more on the education of entrepreneurs on what a startup roadmap looks like, right? Especially for first-time entrepreneurs. They come in and they're like, Invest Ottawa, you can find us money, right? And then we'll just, I'll fund it, and this is, they want a check, and then they think they're off and running. And there is money to be had at different stages, but it's more to understanding, it's often chicken or the egg. How do I get money to build something? How can I build something without money? How do I get a customer without a product? All of these things that you need to figure out how to work forward. So I think, in as clear and concise a way as we can to educate entrepreneurs early on about what the experience of being an entrepreneur in the tech sector is like and trying to grow it. And it's not like there's one path, but helping them to understand the different potential avenues they can take, both from funding, getting the product, and getting customers. I think that's one of the things that we can really do to help entrepreneurship in this city.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds so simple, and it is those basics that really just needs to be in place before you can get forward. And it's and I love, for those of you that is just joining us or watching this, I'm here today with the newly appointed Vice President of Venture Development with Invest Ottawa, Nick Quain, seasoned CEO and entrepreneur, and so excited to have you in this hot seat. It's your hot seat.
You're in my seat.
I'm in your hot seat.
Thanks for coming today.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me sit in your hot seat. Congratulations. I am sure both the startup community, Invest Ottawa, and everybody here is very excited to have you part of the team. And we look forward to see what this year will bring, and we look forward to see what's happening and what growth will take place within the startup community. So thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure that you stay tuned here. Come and check us out either Monday or Wednesday here on Techopia. Also go check out techopia.ca to get more information, and make sure you keep your finger on the pulse. Have a great day. Bye.